Guys, welcome back to the third and final part of the Anvil tutorial. In this one we're going to be making the hammer and probably giving it a hitbox so they can't just walk right through the particle. So first thing we want to do is we want to start by making the iron part of the hammer, and we're going to take the same color we have here and just darken it up a little bit. So we want to find a block or a particle that is the darkest color, which from the last video the last two were the black and then we did part of the top. So we're just going to grab this one, and I'm going to copy the button this time so I don't forget to put it and lose my place. So now that we've got the color set up and most of the settings, we're just going to take the color and darken it a little bit. And I'm actually going to go to 85 on this one. That way it's slightly darker and you can kind of see a difference even though they're almost the same color. Again, you want to make sure to set both the start and the end color. That way it's not like a rainbow transparent texture color changing block. And you're not going to be able to see it because it's actually in another block. So we've got to offset it. And because we took it from 2 blocks above us, we're going to offset it. But the block above us is offset by 10, so we want to offset that to 11. Because you see the 10 is the block above it. Now it should be in the same spot right here. As you can see, it's slightly darker. So what we want to do is, because it's lined up with the top, it is a 0.2 for the height, so we're just going to add 0.2 to the height, because that will set it directly on top. And then we're going to get rid of the offset that we have for the X right here, which will center it. So now if we go up and look at it, we've got it centered in the middle, but it's kind of wide because we just took that part. But no problem, we can easily change the size of that. Now, the height is not what we're worried about right here, because we're going to be having the hammer like it was just smashed onto it where the handle is sticking sideways. So the height is actually the width of it. So we need this number and this number over here to be the same. So I'm going to go with 0.1. Actually, I'm going to go with 0.15. And the height can stay the same for now because we're worried about the size of it this way. So once that's a good thing, then you can adjust the height, which I'm going to add 0.5 to it to see how that works. Because I want it to be pretty tall, because we're going to stick something through it. So it needs to be, you know, after we have something sticking through it, it still needs to be pretty good size on both sides. And yeah, it looks like it's still sitting on top. You could add more if you want, but I'm not going to. Now, because we've got the dimensions of that one pretty much set, we're going to copy it, paste it down, and we're going to work on the handle. Now, for the handle, trial and error to make brown, that can be pretty tricky. So I actually have it written down. So let me offset it to 12. And then for the colors, this is going to be for like almost a birchwood thing. You could add more red and more green if you wanted to make it a little bit darker, or just add all values a little bit lower. But this is 195, 165, and 125. And it's the same color that I used for the handle in the other anvil. And make sure to set both of them so you don't have a color changing handle, because that'd just be weird. And it's the same, it just overwrites the block, so all we got to do is change the height and the width. And because it's in the exact same position, it's going to be centered the same. So once you change the height and the width, so it's actually going to be centered right through the middle where we need it. Now the height, we're going to take that to 0.1, because this now, because it's on its side, the Y is actually the top of the pole and the bottom, or part of the diameter of the top of the stick that we're using. And we're also going to be using this one as part of the stick. And we're going to set them to 0.05, because 0.1 is going to be pretty wide. And then this is actually going to be the length of it. Of course, if you're switching your north, south, east, or west of the hammer, you switch this one in the last number. So I'm actually going to put this as, whoops, not 5 blocks, that'd be ridiculously long. I'm going to do 0.5, which is half of a block, and it's going to be pretty long, and then all we got to do is offset it whichever way we want. And I'm going to try to offset it this way, but either way works fine. You could even have the pole sticking this way. but after you offset it, you want to make sure to have a little piece of it sticking out at the end, so it kind of gives it that Mario hammer feel where it's just a rock on a stick kind of way that it's set up. So we need to go to the offset, and we're going to offset it by not by 1, but maybe by point, I want to say 0.35 maybe, and if not, that's okay. We can, now it's not even touching it, so we just got to offset it. So however wide this is plus 0.1, because there's like 0.5 on each side that we need. So the size of this was 0.15, so we just add 0.25 to it. And I'm adding because I was using negative. Now it's sticking right through it, but because this block is actually kind of a little tiny bit inside of there, it looks like it's a little bit lower. So it looks like you should be hitting with that part, so I'm going to offset it by 0.5 just to go up a little bit higher and kind of center it out. So change that to a 7 and we should be good. Or maybe not. It looks a little bit weird. I'll just change it to a 5. Alright, now we're good. So that's pretty much how to make the anvil with the hammer. You could experiment making tongs using like one long gray particle, another one next to it, and again, I didn't make them on here because you have to have it kind of like leaning off, otherwise it just looks weird hanging from it, but we can't do diagonal particles. So you can experiment with this all you want. Of course, you can make the top darker, like give it a square, make it look like it was hit on. Maybe put like a rod sticking off of it with like an end of it glowing red and orange for like the molten effect. Whatever you want. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this, and hopefully this has helped you learn a little bit more about particles.